Grown black folks talk. Spring is coming. Whatever you're out here about, be about it. Now, some of you will say, "Well, that mountain looks familiar." Yeah, it does. It does. That's our old friend, the Midwinter Mountain, in a different palette and coloring. And that leads me to the first half of what I want to talk about. I probably should put this off to the side, but I wanted y'all to have this nice, complete view of this wonderful, tranquil scene. Shout out to Black woman minding my business, who um, reminded me of tranquil waters today. Okay, so y'all, a couple things to talk about. What you're about, be about it. There's two halves of this. One of the halves of this is stop fighting with people that are not essential to your mission. Well, actually, there's three parts of this. Let me deal with that's actually number two. Let me deal with number one. Number one, get started. It's not actually spring yet. We actually could have left our winter mountain up, but I want to make a point. For those of us who are on the Gregorian calendar and are not listening to people who are still on the Game of Thrones calendar, a local manosphere, not local to me, but a rather prominent manosphere figure is now calling himself the Blizzard King. I'm like, sir, it's March 3rd. Where do you live? Not that there are not still blizzards in March and even in April. And if you live in the northern United States, you might even have an odd blizzard in May. And I know that one year Canada had snow in June. That's some doing. Sometimes it does happen. And if you live in the southern hemisphere, well, by all means. But y'all do know, because I keep saying it, that winter is optional, right? Move around the equator and winter doesn't exist. Be reasonably mobile and you can be in the southern hemisphere and never experience it because you just fly back and forth. Become a digital nomad. Winter no longer exists. If you don't know how this works, I'll put Stephanie Perry's link in the description. But first, understand spring is coming. It comes every year in the extreme locations of the hemisphere that has the clear four seasons. And nothing has to be completed. Spring is where you begin things. Things are budding out. There's no fruit on this mountain. You can see trees and flowers. It's a fractal art piece, and I colored it. So you can see trees and flowers and all that great stuff. But there's no fruit there yet. Spring comes on March 21st. I guarantee you nothing that's blooming on March 21st is going to have edible fruit in March. Some apricots would start a little bit early, some almonds that start a little bit early. Okay, some of them may have fruit, visible fruit by April, but most things that start blooming in March, and that's early. My apple tree will be like, ha! You will not see a bloom for me until late April at the earliest, maybe May, maybe even June, depending on how the tree feels about the liquid. We've had some good chilling hours this year, so I expect my apple tree will do pretty well. I need to probably go put some fertilizer on it. There's a bunch of stuff I still need to do in my garden, and it's still winter and I have time, but nothing is completed in the spring. Spring is the beginning of the new cycle. So you don't have to have a completed whatever. Just start. That's number one. Whatever it is, you have this business idea, you have this creative idea, start and see what happens. I started a new project actually in the winter, not something too taxing. But like I said, I really start projects in April. So now that I'm going to have 3 months to practice doing this Hive newsletter that I'm doing now, it turns out, and I'll put this in the description for those who are interested, that putting together newsletters is one of those ways that you are able to use your power as a curator. And I was a professional editor, a journalist. So actually, this makes sense for me to be able to build an income, a lifetime income for yourself. You just have to find a schedule and stick to it. Well, all my school newspapers were weeklies. I know how to do that. I'm doing it on Hive every week now. This is week 9. So now I'm practicing. I'll have 12 weeks under the belt. 11, 12, 13, because March has 5 Fridays. I have 13 under the belt. So I will have actually gotten some good practice in here to get ready to move that up a little bit higher. We're gonna move a little higher. We'll see if my mic will let that come through for y'all. But the idea is we're practicing moving on up a little higher. But like I said, it's not, we're just budding something out now. We got the whole year to make it happen. But we gotta start. We gotta start. And springtime is for that. And while you are putting your energy into starting something, please stop arguing with people that are not essential to your purpose. I talked today with a friend of mine about how strife can become an addiction. If you want to know why Black YouTube is such a wasteland, that's why. There are powerful forces inside and outside the community that want to keep us weak and addicted to various substances. But the cheapest way to keep a people addicted and helpless is through keeping them fighting with each other. There is a reason that you have to excuse me. It's allergy season. Spring has started sprung. The winter spring has kicked in San Francisco. So y'all excuse me. I'm brewing some very strong ginger and cayenne and clove tea, a natural remedy for these things. But the thing is, the steam is powerful. It's doing the job, but like right now, I'm making a video. Oh my gosh. But it is what it is, y'all. I'm gonna be all right. Just excuse me if you see me struggling a little bit. Um, getting people addicted to fussing with each other is the cheapest way to keep people weak and messed up and not able. If I look at my productivity from this time last year to now, I would say that I'm probably 2 to 5 times more productive than I was. And if I look at my productivity in 2021 and 2020 compared to today, I'm actually back up to those levels. Now, in 2020, 2021, 80% of everything shut down. So what am I going to do with this time? We can get online and, people like Kevin Samuels begin to build their audiences really in 2020 and early 2021 because people were at home and did not know how to create and did not know how to do resources, and it had to be someone else's fault. Well, a whole lot of people decided it was Black women's fault that the world was falling apart for everybody. You know how much you can get done if you take that energy God gave you and instead of going for that quick adrenaline hit, you turn that into creative power? See, folks were getting involved with fussing and fighting, and I was doing that. I discovered in 2020 that I could do that instead of getting caught up. But 2022 moved into some new horizons, enjoyed my time there, moved out. Strife is a work of the flesh. It is forbidden for the Christian. Some conflict in human life is necessary. And see, for those of you who are going to be doing the intercessory Bible study that's coming up this week, or depending, if my sinuses will let me be great this week, or maybe starting next week. No, not this week. It's going to have to be next week. Today, when you see this, it'll be Friday. You cannot generally be in the mode of dragging and bawling people out and also intercede for them with the compassion and mercy and love of God. You can't do both. Now, there are some prophetic drags. If you know the Bible at all, you know the name of Elijah. And the prophet Elijah, his drag of the prophets of Baal was so good that God recorded it for all time. Hey, y'all, he may be, y'all need to just holler louder, y'all, because he may be on a journey or he may be asleep. So y'all just need to get your gods to just holler louder, y'all. Do some more all afternoon in front of a crowd of thousands. There are prophetic drags. There's even scripture, Psalm 82. Whole lot of silly men want to talk about. Well, the Bible says we are gods. I'm like, you need to read Psalm 82, and you need to read all of it, because you know what the next verse says? I have said ye are gods. All of you are children of the Most High. Next verse. But you shall fall like men and die like one of the princes. God himself will drag you. But here's the thing about people God is dragging. If he's dragging them, he's not saving them. And if the prophets are dragging them, the thing about what Elijah did was that he killed all those folks when they lost that contest. That's that part about First Kings that y'all don't know. Elijah killed all of them. So if you're in a mode of having to be judgmental, of having to drag, of having to ball out, you cannot at the same time be in intercessor mode. So for a lot of reasons, I eliminated all that from my life because that's not what I'm called to do. And see, when you take your attention from fighting and fussing and being in drama with people, you may discover that you have an upside you don't know anything about yet. Did I know at age 37 that I could do this? It was to a point, because I've been doing fractal art for the last 6 years or so. So X makes me 37 actually. And I had to get injured to have time off to really explore all this. So when you're busy doing this, that, I told you about the major injury that happened to my leg. But had I continued to spend my time moderating a foolishness, you don't have time to do things I'm doing now. So one of the things you're going to have to start doing to make the most of this spring, if you see that people want to fuss and fight and are not moving and want the drama, you're going to have to step away from that so that you can, again, like I said earlier, you want to water the tree of whatever your enterprise is this year with pure water. Constant drama is literally poison. Literally. To you, it'll shorten your life. Those high cortisol levels will make it impossible for you to process your digestion correctly. You're missing vitamins. You're packing on pounds. For me, losing weight was actually a lot easier under COVID because 80% of the stress in my life disappeared. And I have just decided not to put a lot of it back. I completed ridding myself of unnecessary stress in large measure, not completely. Well, there's still necessary stress, but unnecessary stress I don't need. 2022. No, not carrying that stuff over. And I would advise you to not do it either. So that you have time to be about whatever it is you're called to be about. Number 3, as you are being about what you're going to be about, don't be ashamed to bring some people with you who are on the same journey. If you are stable and you have resources. I was talking to a friend of mine who was thanking me for something that I did for them today. And I'm like, well, okay, we got to practice what we preach out here. When we talk about being about Black women. So therefore, we have to help out one another as we can with our resources. Now, again, stabilize yourself first. Don't be so interested. Don't be codependent. Make sure you're doing what you need to do first so you can be stable in how you choose to help others on the same journey. But now, let me just say that everybody who is of a mind to oppress Black women in this country gets very nervous when Black women talk about helping each other. Because we all assume the way we were raised in the United States of America that there's scarcity, that other people control all the opportunities, that racism limits our possibilities. And I mean, there is an extent to which racism does have an impact, but we have been programmed to believe that there's only a little bit of opportunity. And if somehow Black women decide to do for themselves, then everyone else in the Black community is going to get robbed. And by extension, in the United States of America, white people get very nervous when Black people get together and start doing things that are positive. There's no problem with the algorithm supporting foolishness, but channels that support us doing positive things are just not as pushed because, again, the imagination is scarcity. See, in Europe, spring and summer are on a calendar, but there's a reason why Game of Thrones calendar comes from that mindset. See, in Europe, winter is long and cold and will kill you. Easy. You may starve. If you don't have sufficient food supplies from the summer, you will not make it because the growing season in some areas of Europe is short. The growing season in some areas of Northern Europe is maybe, if the Lord bless and keep you, you may have 4 months for a growing season. So you got to get to moving. There's only so many things you can grow that are going to sustain you in 3 to 4 months. This is also why Europe has these stories of these terrible plagues. If a garden variety disease hits a population of people who are undernourished, AIDS in Africa is another example of this. There's a book, Inventing the AIDS Virus, called by Dr. Duesberg. And he talks about how AIDS swept through Africa the way it did because people were malnourished more than anything else. And why it didn't do the same thing elsewhere, among other things that he says. Well, since then, someone's come up with Plumpy Nut. and it's figured out how to put good calories into people's diets more often. And you do not hear stories about AIDS coming out of Africa anymore, because what needed to happen was that other people needed to stop taking so many resources out of Africa that many of its countries had trouble feeding its citizens. That's what needed to happen. Scarcity is artificial, but we reinforce it by imagining, because we have been in the hands of people that only have a limited amount of time to do certain things, that there are only a few resources, and now we've got to fight for it. And if we don't have enough, then we've got to take down someone else. Anybody ever heard the story of the Vikings, the Vandals, and the Visigoths? The Vikings, the Vandals, and the Visigoths. Look it up. You know about the Vikings, but there's more than them. Just raiding parties, people that decided they couldn't do anything, so they're just going to become famous by stealing from everybody else. Doesn't that sound a little bit like European history? By the way, just this for free, okay? A whole lot of states are like they don't want to teach Black history. That's fine. There are those of us that are Black people that actually know European history and American white folk history. So we gonna get it one side. You're not gonna outlaw that. And see, side note to the side note. See, this is why it's a problem for Black people to learn how to read, because we might not only read about ourselves and decide that we're going to stop playing around with these scarcity systems, but we may actually start telling people about themselves a little bit. Stuff they don't want to hear. That's for free. It's not actually a part of the subject of this video, but that was for free. The point is, though, we do not have to be bigoted or discriminate the way we have suffered from in order to make sure that we help each other get the opportunities that we need. It is not necessary. There are plenty of opportunities in the 21st century. We have a global economy. We have the ability to do things on a global level because we have the internet. Now, they may not always be this way. In the House of Representatives, you know, that same House of Representatives that took 15 tries and a fisticuffs incident to get a speaker, well, they finally got their lives together, and they're putting out a bill. They would like President Biden to shut down a whole social media platform because it's from China. But see, what people don't understand is, if the president is going to be allowed to shut down people's access to a publicly available social media company and have that taken off of all American citizens' phones, once you open that door, you're on your way to becoming a country like China, who completely controls its citizens' access to the internet. See, people think it can't happen here. No, the mechanisms to make it happen here are being built all around us. So while we have this moment to be on TikTok, I don't think President Biden is going to sign that bill, but that's a different video. While we have this moment to be on TikTok and to have the freedom to be on Facebook, YouTube, y'all hear me talking about PD on the Hive blockchain. While we're still allowed to have crypto as retail customers, that's a whole nother story. I don't have time to tell you. I gotta get back to that in the coming weeks as well. We best make use of it because, again, we're actually in an environment of abundance, but it doesn't always have to be this way. See, that same Gregorian calendar tells you winter is leaving, but also winter is coming. Another winter is coming. History tells you there's times of abundance and then there's times of not so much abundance. Things go through cycles. So while you have it, use it and bring someone else along. There's enough room for everybody. We don't have to discriminate, but be about who you're about. Now, those of you on this channel knows my audience is primarily Black women. So even though it's grown Black folks talk, it kind of leans toward the primary audience members. But I thank Lamar and Aaron and Robert and the steak sandwich, that's sandwich, not sandwich, for coming around, putting in their input. And I really have gotten a lot of enjoyment out of Jamil Calpen of the Beneficial Black Man. Really been enjoying his content. We're not set this up in such a way that we're saying Black men can't go. I talk a lot about since certain Black men have supported attacking women online for more than 20 years, if you take Tommy Sotomayor as the head of it. We do sometimes have to have conversations here that set the record straight and also put out a very big alarm. In Louisville, Black women decided that they weren't going to show up for Black men, and the whole thing failed. Tyree Nichols did not get the attention that people from, let's say, 2017 to now. Nope. Black women decided to show up to get Wayman D. Wesley to lose his job because of those tweets that he was making, and he lost his job. So it behooves us to be like, okay, gentlemen, you've been doing something for 20 years. Some of you have been supporting it. Some of you have not been supporting it, but you have not been going to your brothers and say, this is not it. And shout out to all the Black male content creators who have come up in the last 2 to 3 years to speak out against this stuff. Tony Gaskins, R.C. Blakes. It's not a huge list, sad to say, but they do exist. Kev Hicks, there's a few out there. But the idea is sometimes we have to have hard conversations to correct a 20-year record of slander. 20 years. For those of you who get very frustrated about Crystal Carrison and Kendall St. Charles, all that was a reaction. Black women didn't start that online. They came a little later if you do your mathematics. So sometimes we have to do corrective things, but I'm also not saying Black men can't go. A lot of the ideas that I have for doing spring and summer and being able to expand what I'm doing into something that's going to provide me more asset building possibilities, I have Black men that I work with on the daily. Or maybe not on the daily, but I talk to on the regular. They give me ideas. One of them said, pray for me that the Lord expand my business. And then information started coming to me. I'm not saying Black men can't go. There's room enough for everybody. But since my channel is primarily Black women, I spend more time on Black women's current concerns. You don't have to discriminate. You don't have to be bigoted. There is enough room. There's enough room. I talk about subjects that are germane to everybody. I have people of different races talking about how much the content sometimes benefits them, and everybody's welcome. It's glowing Black folks talk, but I'm not saying you can't be in the room. The other reason you can't do that is because it's illegal. I don't own YouTube. I can't tell people not to listen to my stuff. Now, I can make it so that only certain people can speak on this page. I have people who comment whose stuff is never posted, and I have no idea who they are, and I have no idea what they said, because either my filters on language and words that will not be used on this channel have captured them, or they are on the list of people that I have already put on permanent listener status. I have no idea, but I know they exist. But they can still listen. I can't block that nor when I want to. Because if you listen, you may hear something that may help you. There's enough room for everybody that wants to go to go. There's enough room. Plenty good room, plenty good room. Plenty room in my Father's kingdom. Plenty good room, plenty good room. You just choose your seat and sit down, but be careful. Well, I would not be a backslider, and I'll tell you the reason why. For if my Lord should call on me, I wouldn't be ready to die. Plenty good room, plenty good room. Plenty room in my Father's kingdom. Plenty good room, plenty good room. You just choose your seat and sit down. Our ancestors came up with that a long time ago. In their deprivation, they knew that wherever God was in charge, there was plenty of room. There's plenty of room, y'all. But remember, if you are dedicated to the foolishness, here is the problem. If you are dedicated to the foolishness, there's only one option for you, sooner or later. And I want to leave this as a thought to why you might want to focus yourself on building and not fussing with folks and wasting time. None of us knows how long we're going to have here. I see both Black men and Black women doing truly stupid things, but everybody's so, there's word that another manosphere figure may have lung cancer now. We know that there was a gentleman who had testicular cancer one of the previous years, and of course, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 manosphere characters passed away last year. But here's the deal. Black women empowerment is about 10 years younger than these men. And on average, Black women live about 9 to 10 years longer than Black men on average. So don't think as a Black woman that you're getting away with anything. You just, the people who are making massive, I mean, why do I have to know about pot roasts as smoked Simba? The people who are out here making massive long-term mistakes for themselves are younger, but eventually it catches up with you. The other thing is the permanent underclass, when the roll is called down yonder, the whole lot of us will be there because we are not investing in the things that would help us to tend to keep us out of there. A whole lot of Black women are going to be on that roll too. It's cute to sit around and talk about the ways that Black men's stats suggest that they are failing. Well, if you look at Black women's stats, we're actually all in trouble. And all our stats say that we still spent more time being more productive in slavery than we have since. All of our stats say that. But see, you gonna end up down there if you're not careful. Slow or fast. You're fighting with folks and stressing yourself out. You're killing yourself. You're missing opportunity to secure yourself the kind of economics you're going to need to be living in a good area, getting good health care. You are denying your children those opportunities. It's what you're doing to them too. That's not necessary. But you have to actually choose to do the things that tend to this. It's green and it's growing, y'all. Just like this. What would you prefer in your life? And by the way, if you're listening to this, it does not matter what you think about what's going on. The wave is coming. The wave is coming. Deep fakes and artificial intelligence, all that, the wave is coming. There's nothing you can do about it. But spring is coming. Be about what you're going to be about and be well and be prosperous. Take these last days of winter and figure out what you're going to do. Like, I got to go and buy myself some soil and buy myself some fertilizer. So my apple tree has the best chance to actually give us some apples this year. Right temperatures, right water. We probably need to check on how the soil is doing. Got to buy some soil. My backyard soil is a bit tired out. It was in rotation for about 1, 2, 3 decades. I had it in I'm 42 now, so I had it in rotation up until the time that I got injured, 37. Okay, so almost 20 years, maybe a little bit more, and then there was something growing on it while my grandfather and grandmother had it. So yeah, it needs a little help now. So it's winter. I still have time to get prepared. And in San Francisco, spring doesn't start till about, I mean, it's cold in April. Got time, but it's time to really get, as they get crack a lacking. It's time to start doing that. It's time for you to start doing that. The online foolishness that is there will be there. It'll be there in the summer. It'll be there in autumn. It'll be there in the winter. It'll be there because there's gonna be a certain number of people that are gonna be lost. Please don't let that be you. Whatever you're about, get about it. Be about it. And then when you find people of like mind who are going on the same journey and you can help them, then you can help them without discriminating, without being a bigot. None of that is necessary. By the way, this for free. You know, if you don't have to make it everybody's business, you can help whoever you want as long as you don't need public credit. We may or may not do a whole video about a gentleman who is talking loud and proud about his 7 baby mamas looking for him. And he's doing a viral video about why he's not going to do anything for them because he never wanted those kids. I'm like, sir, the state you live in, you didn't learn anything from Tory Lanez. The state of California did not need Megan Thee Stallion to press charges. They went and got him himself. Here you are, young and in good shape, and you're 7 kids down. Everything ain't gotta be public that you're doing. Just do it. Go with who you want to. Everybody doesn't need the details. Enjoy the run up to spring. Enjoy the rest of the winter spring as we get there. I wish you prosperity and peace. And good building, good budding, good blossoming. All right. That's a nice way to go into the weekend, huh? Y'all have a good day now. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.